Greta, I'm so glad we're on this little date.
Me too.
I got really nervous coming here because I think for me, a lot of your music has soundtracked really emotional periods in my life, and it feels like a full circle that we're here.
Oh my gosh.
Like I remember years ago, I went through like this mini breakup. It was like one of those things where you like see someone for a couple of days and then you don't see them again.
But it's the most intense thing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I did like the Coogee to Bondi walk, and I listened to Drive and Radio Silence, and I was just like, yeah, what's up? Like, why are you not responding? Like, what's going on? I was like, oh, like sad girl doing my little walk. Oh. And now I'm like, oh my God, now I get to date Gretta Ray.
Yes, and now we're on a date. So it really is full circle. Oh, that's so special. Oh, well, thank you for using my music in that form.
Oh, thank you for soundtracking it.
Of course, it is my pleasure.
Yeah.
It's an honor, really.
Who soundtracks your heartbreaks?
Oh, okay, this is really cursed, but like one of the worst breakups that I went through, it was around the time that Lover had come out, which is very ironic. And I obviously am a big Swiftie, and I wouldn't necessarily even say that Lover's like my favorite record, but I remember driving around listening to it, and I think a Lana Del Rey record had come out around the same time, and I remember listening to that and just kind of feeling quite numb because there were all these really emotionally intense songs and I was just like trying to process something. And yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
When you listen back to Lover now, are you kind of scorched by it? Are you like, oh, triggered? Or does it
now
still...
I'm triggered in a different way because I know that, you know, I know that that's hard for her to see probably. I'm like, get protective. I love how we started talking about Taylor Swift
like instantly.
It's just like arriving at this topic. It's good.
Yeah.
We should, as we should.
Do you dox your subjects in your songs as severely as she does? Like, is it if you know sort of situation? Because I think in your new album, Positive Spin, that, you know, you've got songs where you talk about your partner's age and how old you, like particularly Dear 17, obviously. Yeah. Does that scare you, or like does that scare them?
Well, I think that it's just like if you're a songwriter, like that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, you're dating this territory.
Yeah, totally. I think that, you know, anyone who does that signs up for that.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, I actually, up until this record, feel like I've been very kind of concerned about ever like crossing some kind of a line, and I think that with Begin to Look Around I wrote about a breakup and really put a bow around it. Like I still wrote about how devastating it was and moving through that, but I was really mindful of making sure it was still very nice, because that's how I was when we broke up. I was like, yes, but as long as you still perceive me to be good.
Yeah.
But I was like 21. Now I'm 25 and I've learned a few things, and I think that it's really important to look back on your experiences and allow yourself to be honest if something maybe wasn't quite right, or if something happened that did hurt you, and you don't necessarily have to forgive that all the time. You know, forgive but don't forget, or whatever approach you want to take. But for me, when writing Positive Spin, I was really mindful of being quite honest, and you'll hear that obviously more in like some songs. But I think that it's uncovered a new style of songwriting for me that I hadn't really tapped into before. Because I think with my first record, Begin to Look Around, it was very like metaphor heavy. And I feel like with this, it's just a little bit more like
down the line. Yeah.
This is it. This is the story.
And I think that's what your fans will gravitate more towards, where they're just like, we get to know the real Gretta. Like, it's just more visceral and on the same page.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that like, I think about my audience so much now when I write and when I'm creating, like, because I think the more music that you put out, the more that you realize, no matter how specific you get with your songwriting, someone is going to be like, that is so relatable.
Yeah.
And like with Dear 17, which is the first song that I put out from Positive Spin, I was so surprised how many people said, oh, I really relate to this, because like down to every lyric I was like, this is so specific to my life. And so it's really moving to see how people relate to it, and it makes you go, okay, well, there are kind of no boundaries with this, because we're all kind of just moving through the same thing when it comes to life and love and friendship. And
it's kind of like a bittersweet thing where you're like, wow, no experience is unique. You're like, this is beautiful, it brings us together, but also damn, what the heck?
Yes.
What were you like as a teenager, considering that's a lot of your reflection at the moment? Was there an archetype
like as a teenager?
That you kind of fit into, or?
Teacher's pet.
Oh. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, to be fair.
I know, it surprises no one. But yes, no, I really just was very, very obsessed with music. I was very daydreamy, and I think that I still am. And I was very excitable. And yeah.
Those are all good things to have, though.
Thank you. Yeah, I was very, very sensitive. And I cried. All these things, I'm like, still all of these things.
Yeah. And I'm like, past tense, we've worked through this. Interesting. I would love to know how.
No, I definitely, I was like a fragile little kid, but it's really interesting. Like at the time, I remember being like quite embarrassed by that, or like really self-conscious about like, oh, when's the next time someone's going to see me cry, and that's going to be so embarrassing. But it's definitely going to happen because I cry all the time.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I cry all the time. And that's what you get, you know, like it's nice. It's nice that you kind of come to terms with what makes you you.
Well, we just don't date teenagers, so
that's true.
Yeah.
Yes. Have you heard that song?
Yeah, I have.
What do you think of it? I'm still, oh my gosh, the fact that
I loved it.
You like it?
Yeah, 100%. Because I was like, when I first put it on, I was like, oh, this is like, it felt like a mood change from you. Like it's a lot more upbeat than I expected.
Yeah.
But no, it's good.
Thank you.
What was that kind of period like? Because I feel like, from my perspective, it was like quite a whirlwind, swept off your feet. And in my head, when I was a teenager, I had the mental maturity of a 30-year-old. But now, me being like mid-20s, I have a split maturity where I sometimes feel like I'm 16, and then sometimes feel like I'm 40, and then sometimes I'm like, no, you are just 25. What did you place your mental age as a teenager? Oof. And where would you call yourself now?
Ooh, great question. I think when I was a teenager, I think since I also started writing songs as well, I think there was a bit of, and I want to talk about this in a constructive way, that I think there was a little bit of comments about, you know, when people say like, oh, you're mature for your age, and that's so lovely. And like, it is meant well. I like everyone that says it, but sometimes the wrong people are the ones saying it.
Yeah.
And I think that having enough people say it to me as a young person meant that by the time that I was 18, which, you know, in my head is still a teen, you know, I think that I felt like I was probably equipped to take on more than I actually was.
Yeah.
Because as much as like, you know, that's a lovely thing for people to say. When you are 18, you have only lived 18 years of that experience. I've just gotten out of school, and
probably still living at home. And
yes,
yeah.
It was indeed. And there was, you know, a lot that, you know, I had the gap between like 18 and 21 feels so big.
Yeah.
And like 21 and 25 also, like, you know, you're learning so much. And I think when I was 18, I really did feel like I kind of knew everything.
Oh, every 18-year-old does. Yeah.
And it's a really, it's, you know, obviously that's really good to feel secure at 18. But I think that like, for someone to have the expectations that that's going to keep kind of building, rather than like it's actually going to be like this because you're going to go through your 20s and you're going to learn lots and you're still growing and you're still really young, like that is something that shouldn't be taken lightly. It's a very impressionable time.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of things that happen in those 3 years post high school, that like 18 to 21, are things that, for me, anything that happened in those periods is something that I really like hold on to now. Like it's baggage that I find hard to get rid of. And I think it was because you're so hyper impressionable, and that's like quite a formative part of your current identity.
Yeah. I think that like, I mean, your question about like where I see myself now and what I envision then, I think when I was 18, I definitely thought that I was probably a lot older than I actually was. And now, like, I really love feeling like the age that I am.
Yeah. And what do you think you'll think about you now when you're 10 years away?
I think 10 years away, I think I probably...
Will you be like, I was such a baby still?
Yeah, totally. Like,
we're always going to be like that.
I think it's going to be a lot of, I can't believe you were worried about aging. I think that's going to be a big thing in 10 years' time, because I think that, especially in the music industry, but just also in general, I think there is this, and also I started doing this job when I was quite young. I think I really do tune into the messaging of like, It's toxic messaging. Of like, being young is important.
And as a woman, it's very important.
Totally. And obviously that does get to me sometimes, because it's like, oh, do I have like a ticking clock that, you know, like, do I need to achieve this certain thing by this age, this point? And like, I think in 10 years' time, I'll be like, that was so silly.
You didn't need to have any worry in the world,
So I try and think about future me in that regard, because I often...
It's the positive spin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is always, it comes back to the positive spin.
Always comes back to that positive spin, that inner monologue, my guys. Thank you for today.
Oh my God.
I feel like I've learned so much from like our cute little date.
Our cute little date. We have unpacked a lot.
We have.
Yes, reflected a lot. It's good. And we've spoken about
it. Means it's a safe space. I feel very comfortable.
Yes, me too.
Are you one of those people just like a little bit on dates, you know, at the end of dates when people are like, so how did this go?
Yeah.
like, I'm never one of those people, but anytime anyone does that, I'm like, whoa, that's crazy.
Oh, wow.
So how did this go? I would love to see you again.
I would love to see you again.
Oh, great.
Oh my gosh. Also, I have to say that like my foot fell so asleep.
No, this one is dead.
So
this is like I don't know if that just like flopped out of then, but this one is like fully disassociated from my like body.
Yeah. Okay, we need to bring that back to life.
Yeah, we could just sit here and bring our feet back to life for a little bit. That's good stuff.